Batman vs. Superman, Mad Max, Pixels, and disaster films this week on Burn Popcorn. Hello everybody, I'm Dave Masakura.
I'm Tony Thomas, and this week we are joined by another guest. This time, it's someone not related to any of us. This week we have Jeff, otherwise known as Jake.
Well, if you're old man Tony, yes, that would be. Jeff, you are no stranger to the world of YouTube. You're very famous for your Lego videos. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, what can I say? Well, when I was at a very young age, I wanted to start off on YouTube. Then I loved stop motion animation. I seen videos online, but there was no how to do it. So then one day, there was one video, very low quality, then I found out, and then I grew on to what I love today, which is movies and television.
So you're like a pioneer in the realm of stop motion Lego.
On YouTube.
Yes.
Yep.
When did you start that?
Stop motion animation started on YouTube back in early 2009.
Mm-hmm. That was when the craze really took off.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then they called it a dying art back in 2012 because right now there is literally no videos on YouTube of stop motion anymore, unless if it's like Batman versus Superman Lego trailer, because those get a lot of views, and just nothing really.
So not a lot of original stop motion Lego anymore.
Maybe with the new Star Wars film that's coming out, we will see a lot more different stop motion animations.
So it sort of petered out, essentially.
Yep.
What do you think was the cause of that?
I think
because I remember seeing the videos, some of them were getting in the millions,
right,
views.
Yeah, right.
What happened there?
Well, I think a lot of channels decide to move on to bigger and different things, because there's a channel I'm thinking about. His name is Forest Fire 101. All he just posts is just movie trailers of Legos. All right,
so Lego versions of the trailers.
Right.
Okay.
And then we have other different channels, like Brotherhood Workshop does a whole bunch of different things with Hobbit and Star Wars. So, I mean, it's not that people aren't posting anything. It's just based off of other people's ideas.
Okay.
Those are getting the views. You see a very small amount of, original content of what people have to offer.
Are you still making videos?
Yes.
Where can people find you on YouTube?
You could find me at youtube.com/gamerguy.
Gamerguy. So it's tough out there for a Lego pimp.
Yeah.
So, but I think you're right. I do think that, with the new Star Wars movie, it's going to give you plenty. And most of them are parodies of...
Yeah, a lot of them are.
And, the new Lego Jurassic World game did a video game Lego animation of the movie that would turn out very popular, and that served as the teaser trailer for that game. So, you do see a lot of that on there. And I have another theory on why things like that aren't popular anymore, because of the ebb and flow of what people like to watch.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that off mic.
It's
a little controversial.
People are fickle? Is that what it comes down to?
In a way, yeah.
But, no, you can't just throw that out there. I'm going to tell you it off mic.
Okay.
How bad could it possibly be?
All right, do you want to know?
I think you owe it to the audience.
Young white women are really popular right now on YouTube.
No, that's true.
Are you
like the Grace Helbigs, the My Drunk Kitchen, or whatever it is. They're very popular right now.
True.
So
I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying
but
that's kind of where it seems like.
Is.
Yeah, that's kind of where the attention's going now. If you're young, and I'm just saying white because I don't really see a lot of women of color with these really popular shows.
Glozell, the one with the green lipstick. She interviewed the president, I believe.
Yeah.
Right. She's pretty big, I hear.
Yeah, she is.
But I guess she's the
I'm saying she's the exception to the rule. Because the big ones that I'm seeing show up on the popular on YouTube thread, they're mostly young, pretty white women.
And what there's and Tyler Oakley, so young pretty white women and pretty boy gay guy,
right? I don't know if Grace Helbig's show would work as a young white male.
She actually has got. I mean, she must be doing something better.
I know
than
she's
any-
really
she's-
popular.
She
I'm
has her own
just
show on E now.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I don't see that. I think it's one of those situations where, for better or for worse, the gender and race works in their favor. And I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm just saying that's just
That's interesting.
how it is.
Is that the demographic of people that are watching YouTube?
I'm seeing it a lot more. There's a lot of channels out there. You're a gamer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you are as much. I'm a gamer. There's a lot of channels out there where young women are posting videos of themselves on are you familiar with Twitch?
Yeah, like
A lot of
videos
girls-
of them playing a game.
Right? Women on there, they expose themselves.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean expose themselves?
It's not naked gaming.
Right.
That's what I kind of thought.
A lot of people go on YouTube to see videos of. Let me think of one channel. iJustine. She's a vlogger. All
Oh
right.
my god, I feel old right now. Keep going.
All right.
Oh god.
And she's also a gamer.
Mm-hmm.
All her YouTube career was just vlogging. Now she does gaming. Not only does she make separate revenue from gaming, now you know what I mean?
Right, she has
So,
multiple revenue streams.
Exactly.
And I think one of the reason why you see a lot of young women come up through this YouTube, it's very easy to use once you get the hang. It's very empowering. It gives these people a tool that they did not have back with the old media, where it was dominated by the old white men club.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing, because you're getting a much more diverse
I'm
look
a big
on things.
fan of the idea of user-generated content.
Yeah.
I like that.
And the other thing is these YouTube stars, they own their content.
That's neat. I really think that's neat because people get screwed out
Look
of
what
it.
happened to what's their name? The Superman creators.
Yeah. Oh yes.
Their names escape me right now.
Yeah, I know who you're talking.
Yeah, they got fucked over by DC
Yeah.
because they sold the character, they made the movies.
Siegel,
Yeah, and I forget the other guy.
yeah,
Jerry Siegel.
yeah, I think so.
But they got fucked over because they didn't get a lot of residuals and royalties until they were practically dead. I think one of them was dead at the time.
That's what That's what pisses me off about. And I know I'm going off topic, but
Yeah.
it sort of is relevant because we talk about film and television. One of the reasons, and this is maybe a preview
Yeah.
for a topic we'll touch on based on way down the road. But one of the problems with the film industry right now is that it's sort of suffering from a brain drain, if you will. Writers, screenwriters in particular, have very little rights or power to what they make. So you have Evan Doherty. He wrote and essentially created the Snow White and the Huntsman universe.
Right.
Okay. He did that when he was at NYU. He just wrote this little script, created the whole thing, right? So it gets made into a movie, it does very well, and a sequel is being made. Guess who has zero rights to even be a writer on the next one? Evan Doherty. So why the fuck would somebody who probably took out a second mortgage to go to film school and then created this world essentially, and now he has zero rights to it?
Yeah.
This is why a lot of people are a lot of the writers are leaving film.
Yeah.
And they're going right into television,
Yeah.
where they have more rights, because television is a writer's medium.
Yeah.
Which is why you're seeing a ton
Well,
of the best stuff coming out, the most talked about stuff on television and not film.
Yeah, perfect example. Look what Netflix did with Daredevil. It's one of the highest praised, critically acclaimed shows that Marvel has done. It's gotten far better reviews and accolades than S.H.I.E.L.D. And they took a character that was, a B-level superhero who, the last time the public knew him, he was in an awful movie played by Ben Affleck. And they recreated this world where you have people coming back to the Daredevil character, and the writing's getting a huge amount of praise. And that show probably would not have worked had they taken it to a film. Yeah. And, George Lucas is a great example of owning your universe.
Yeah. Well, he was probably the last guy in film to own his universe. And will ever own his universe in film.
Yes, all the way from that first movie up until when he sold it, Lucas and his people had control over the video games, the expanded universe, the sequels, and then he sold it for what, $6 billion?
Yeah.
Ridiculous. So let's move on to our first topic.
Yes. Tony, would you like to preview it?
Sure. We've been finally getting some more information on the Suicide Squad. We saw a couple weeks ago the highly controversial image of Jared Leto as the Joker come out.
Let's start with that.
Yeah, which has since... Now, here's the funny thing about that. There's been indications that may not be how he looks at all. There was a DC writer that tweeted that the image was just a troll. It was just trolling us.
What the fuck does that even
mean?
Like,
fucking with us. Like, ha, ha, ha.
Oh, ha, ha, ha. That's a great way to promote your fucking film.
Well, the God is talking about it. And then there were other rumors that he wouldn't even have the tattoos. And then there was another leaked image that came out showing Harley Quinn giving him the tattoos.
You showed me this. I remember. You floated it to me on Twitter. Mm-hmm. And I opened up the image, and I see the Joker, presumably the back shot of where he's like screaming like Macaulay Culkin in Home Alone, but the back shot where in the back we see Harley Quinn tattooing on his back, and you see him, he's just in like
boxers,
boxer briefs, and you see, and I'm like, did I just see the
I
Joker's
think you do,
ass crack?
So they released the full cast photo.
Because you see his ass crack.
Yeah,
it's weird.
Yeah, so they released the full cast photo, so you see all the villains. And being the internet, a lot of people had opinions on this.
Yeah.
I didn't care for it.
No, I don't like this look.
It's very 90s.
Do you like it?
Yeah, it seems too cartoonish, like a dark...
Yeah.
Like a dark comedy or something, you know what I mean?
I said this before and I'll say it again. It's like the DC universe took a left turn into the Fast and Furious universe.
Yeah,
it just looks,
and everybody looks the same. Like, aside from the characters that are really obvious, like Harley Quinn, and Deadshot. Yeah. Everybody else looks pretty much the same. Like, the costumes are very, very similar. It's very bland. What the fuck did they do with Enchantress? The one she's played by Cara Delevingne. She's the ring wraith lookalike over there, the ugly bride. Yeah. The Enchantress in the comics, she's usually like a bright emerald green costume, and they made her into some kind of like, Americanized version of a Japanese horror villain.
My thoughts and my hopes on it are that they're going to come out and say, you guys are picking it apart a little too much. You have to realize that these characters are in jail. They're being recruited from jail. Yeah. So they've fallen on hard times, which is why the Joker looks like a tweaker junkie. Yeah. And okay, and if that's the case, fine, come out and say it. But right now, you're just showing me that image.
Right.
And the Joker, who is like the clown prince of crime, looks like a fucking tweaker.
Yeah, and even Harley Quinn, I like that they at least made her seem like, the Harley Quinn we know. But I don't know. I don't like the paint. I realize
she reminded me of Tank Girl. I remember the 90s.
Yeah, wasn't Ice Cube in that or Ice T? One of them's
I
in
know
it.
Malcolm McDowell was in it.
Her hair with the pink and blue, it looks too much like fucking cotton candy. But the thing that's what's going to secure my faith in Harley Quinn is if Margot Robbie gets the voice right.
Yeah.
You need that voice.
Yeah, Margot Robbie.
I'm not even going to try to do it, but you know what I'm talking about.
Margot Robbie, I mean, the casting for her character is good. I mean,
I think
we all love Margot Robbie.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't know. Jared Leto, whenever you come into the Joker role, and everybody should know this by now, you have a lot to prove.
Yeah.
Because, I know that when Heath Ledger took the role, a lot of people were skeptical of him until the videos were.
But I think people were more. I think people were more skeptical that the guy from 10 Things I Hate About You and Brokeback Mountain was playing him. That he really hasn't played like a dark character like that, a comic book character.
People kept saying 10 Things About You, 10 Things I Hate About You. That was the thing that.
And funny enough, Joseph Gordon-Levitt would end up in a Batman movie as well.
Yeah,
he was in that movie.
Yeah, weird enough. Huh?
Yeah. But yeah, not very exciting. It's not like I said, like even for somebody who, and a lot of these characters, they're not that familiar to most people. Mm-hmm. And to just come out with an image like that where you can't really point out who's who, I don't know if that was the best decision.
They should have more of a distinctive look to each and every single one.
Exactly.
It's like a whole bunch of emo kids just decided to dress up
as
these...
Like Rick Flag and Deadshot look... If you got them from the neck down, they look pretty similar. And like you said, maybe this is because these are like their prison
That's
like
my
merge.
only
Yeah,
thought. That, I mean that would be.
they all
case.
look alike for a reason. Maybe that's the case. Killer Croc. I'm gonna have to see him on a little bit more because it's.
From afar, it looks like he just has a really bad case of overdosing on crocodile.
Yeah, like it's like the thing. Marvel's
will
the
be
thing.
part of his
Yeah,
story.
maybe. Looks like Marvel's the thing took some crocodile and had a really bad reaction to it.
You know what? I think I just sold my. I mean, that started off as a joke, but I'm thinking, all right, wouldn't that make like a
That would
little
be
bit
a
more
real-
sense than being like some kind of mutated freak? I mean,
Yeah.
what if the guy's just like a hardened criminal that was like really hooked on crocodile?
Yeah.
and he got the name the crocodile.
Maybe. You know who I hope is when I don't think he's part of the Suicide Squad, but you know who I hope ends up in one of these DC movies? Solomon Grundy.
You always loved Solomon Grundy.
Born on a Monday. There's that nursery rhyme.
I-
Solomon Grundy, born on a Monday. And it
I
goes
don't
on.
know how
You
it
don't know.
goes.
Yeah. Then it's like hung on a Wednesday. Whatever.
I never really liked Solomon Grundy, and that could be because
You remember him from the old
Cartoon.
70s cartoons where he pretty much just grunts, Solomon Grundy!
I kind of never really was. I just kind of didn't like this
Yeah,
character.
they did a really good job with him in the Arkham City video game.
We keep saying that, and inevitably, every time we talk about DC, we've been skeptical of these movies now for quite some time. But I'll tell you what, the video games that DC puts out, Arkham Knight, why don't they just make an Arkham Knight movie?
Yeah. And
because they seem to be getting the video games right.
Right, and they look great. The aesthetic is there.
Yeah, the whole universe is there for you, visually.
Fantastic games.
Yeah, and even what they did with the Joker, they made him a little bit more cartoonish because he's got this ridiculous pointy chin that could not exist in reality.
Which was
But-
voiced by
the great Mark Hamill.
And they make
Everybody's favorite Joker.
They make incredible choices.
There's
for
been
video games.
there's been
but,
a
like what the fuck with
you know
some
what
of these movies?
you know what they should do now that Mark Hamill's back in the spotlight with Star Wars 7.
What?
DC's been doing a lot of animated films. They recently did Frank Miller's The Dark Knight. I picked it up at Walmart. I haven't watched it yet, but from what I hear, it's a great adaptation of that graphic novel. Do The Killing Joke and get Mark Hamill back.
Oh, that'd be something.
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of people have been pushing for it, but for whatever reason,
Like a mature rated cartoon.
yeah, they got to do that. But the Suicide Squad cast wasn't the only set photos that came out.
Oh,
It was revealed that the next issue of Vanity Fair, which comes out in print on May 8th, not May 8th, May 12th, Annie Leibovitz,
famed historical
photographer, did a photo
presidents
shoot.
and world
Yep.
leaders.
Did the photo shoot for Star Wars 7. She was on set. We got to see some images that they released. I don't think this is all that she shot because you got to have some selling point to pick up the magazine.
And boy, did they pick out the right ones, I think, to sell the magazine.
Yes. So we saw the cover with Han, Chewie, Rey, and Finn sitting in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
Rey is much more dressed up in her scavenger outfit, very Padme-esque from Attack of the Clones.
Now, here's the thing. You're talking about the Falcon, right?
Yeah.
You see Harrison Ford, you see Peter Mayhew, right?
Yeah.
And you see John Boyega and Daisy Ridley, right? Mm-hmm. You see them all aboard in the cockpit.
Yeah.
That's starting to make me wonder if they're all going to meet up at one point,
Yeah.
right?
It seems
And they're going to be there.
It certainly seems that way because in the trailer, the Falcon flies through that wrecked Star Destroyer.
I think what you were given was the core cast.
Yeah.
With that Vanity Fair sheet, I think it seems to me a signal to everybody.
Like those are your
this
main.
Is it. This is your A cast.
Especially because the rumor is Luke is somewhat in hiding or he's missing, so Luke may not be in the majority of this
He may
picture.
very well just be a periphery character.
Yeah. Same with Leia.
Yeah.
Leia may be kind of like behind the scenes running the Resistance.
I think we were given the core cast with that cover.
And that makes sense because you have Han and Chewie are the two most popular characters from the original cast.
Without a doubt, that goes without saying.
Yeah, and it certainly seems like Rey and Finn are the two people they're really pushing you to accept and love as the new heroes of this film. We don't know quite yet how big of a role Oscar Isaac has with Poe. certainly seems like he's big because they showed another image of him outside of his X-wing.
Dameron seems like he's going to be like a key player in the
Yeah.
Resistance.
We saw an image of Lupita Nyong'o in the CG face capture.
Total CGI face capture.
Yes, all the little points. And the rumor was she was going to be playing one of Kylo Ren's lackey, that she was going to be CGI. She was playing some kind of Sith acolyte. That does not seem to be the case because
it seems like she's like a pirate queen or something like that.
Presumably on Jakku, because there was also that wide shot of the cast of aliens from her palace.
Yeah.
So she may very well be the ruler of this planet. Perhaps that's who Rey...
She could be the gang lord of that particular...
Right, perhaps that's who Rey...
Maybe she's Hutt affiliated?
Maybe. I don't think she's a Hutt because...
No, not a Hutt.
Yeah,
well,
but...
Maybe, but not.
I don't think so because I don't think they'd go that detailed in the facial movements of the Hutts. I think she's a bipedal kind of alien.
But will she be working for the Hutts, with the Hutts?
I don't know. I think she'd be working with them, or with or for.
Yeah, I mean, if she's part of the underworld.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if she's with the Hutts... Well, I think if she's with the Hutts, she wouldn't have her own type of gang running around. But I really do think that if they involve a character like this, it better be like almost like Java. You know what I mean?
She's got to be memorable, is what you're saying.
Yeah, it has to be something like that, but it has to be kind of like, depending what they're trying to do, just push it off to the side a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, don't fully force this on, because what they did at the end of Empire Strikes Back, we didn't know about... I mean, we knew about Han had a bounty on his head, all right? And then taken by Boba Fett, all right, to Jabba's palace, all right? And then in the beginning of Return of the Jedi, they only did about what? About
maybe the first 20 minutes, half an hour, yeah.
They only showed us Jabba in his palace, right?
Yeah, they went in, they went out, they went in, they got out.
Exactly. They didn't entice us with too much details or anything with, who this guy is. They just kind of...
I have the feeling that's probably where they're going to go with her character. She's probably going to be important in the first act of the film, and then we're probably not going to see her again for the rest of the movie. It seems like she has something to do with getting them off that planet, or keeping them on it.
Yeah.
Another image that they had was Kylo Ren unmasked, confirming what we all fucking knew: Adam Driver
is Kylo Ren
or Jon Snow, depending on how.
Yeah, there's a picture that I put up on Twitter of Kylo Ren unmasked and Jon Snow. The two look very similar.
And
they just do.
Yeah, and it looks like he's leading 2 snowtroopers.
Yeah. What do we think of Kylo Ren unmasked?
I'm going to have to see more of it to be... He definitely looks a lot better with the mask.
Your thoughts, Jeff? Be honest, come on, moment of truth.
Yeah, I mean, no. I don't honestly like him. Well, I do like him with the mask.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you have to kind of show what he is behind that mask.
Yeah.
I mean, despite what people say about what the Star Wars prequels were, right?
Yeah.
We still knew who Anakin Skywalker was and what led up to that.
Right.
All right, so now we have this new character, and they just show us a couple of different pictures. One unmasked and one with a mask. Right? We don't know much about this guy, but we all are saying that he's going to be a Sith.
Yeah.
All right, just the look of him, right?
Right, we see him with the iconic red lightsaber.
Yep. So, what really questions me about his whole entire... Where is this guy...
Like, where does he come from?
Where does he come from?
Yeah.
Why is he doing what he is? I'm thinking he might be some type of old remnant of what Vader used to have. All right. And they started up this whole new one.
Now, there's a rumor that came out recently, and if you're still listening by now, spoilers, I guess. There's a rumor that came out as to Kylo Ren's motivation. The rumor is Kylo Ren wants people to see him as this, like, Messiah-like figure, like he's Vader returned.
Yeah.
And that makes sense because Vader's helmet seems to be on a pedestal, and he uses... And they said that he convinces people because he's Force sensitive. Now, we know that there aren't a lot of Force sensitive people in the classic trilogy, so it would make sense that 40 years after, there are still people who probably have no idea who the Jedi and Sith are a myth. And so this guy comes along and he has the powers of Darth Vader. So maybe you're thinking he's Vader's returned in a new body. And the rumor is he uses this, cult of personality to rise through the First Order. But he isn't like Vader in the sense where Vader had at least some tactical sense to him. Mm-hmm. Kylo Ren seems to solely be about using violence and death to achieve power, and that's the rumor. It's interesting.
Vader was like the Soviet Union or Nazi Germany, where they were more military tactics. Kylo Ren seems to me more along like ISIS.
Yeah,
They're
like total brutal, death and fear.
Care.
Doesn't care, no emotions. What were you gonna say?
With Kylo Ren, I'm thinking maybe at one point in the movie, because we all see the Vader mask.
Yes.
All burnt. Maybe he's gonna come off and say that this is what your Lord was.
Yeah.
Weak. Because when you think about it, he did have a soft spot.
He did. He let his love for his son.
Exactly. That's an interesting
theory. Because his love for his son is what led him to kill the Emperor.
And I can promise that I'm not going to be like him. I'm going to be better. I'm going to be stronger than him. Mm-hmm. Right?
That's really interesting.
Yeah, that is a really interesting theory.
It makes perfect sense.
It does.
Because it would explain the violence.
It would.
Why presumably Finn, the stormtrooper,
leaves,
is so taken aback.
And that's going in hand. The rumor is that's why Finn defects, because when Finn signs up, he's thinking this is more along the lines of restoring what the Empire used to be.
Yeah.
And that he didn't sign up for butchery and evil.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe that the whole violence on the Star Destroyer occurs after Ren leads that mission, where it seems like there's a lot of fire and destruction. Maybe Finn gets back and is like, this isn't what I signed up for. I didn't sign up to butcher people who didn't yield to the First Order. But we also got to look at another possible villain. We don't know where her character is going to turn. Captain Phasma. It's confirmed that Gwendolyn Christie is playing Captain Phasma.
Oh, so badass looking.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
So
the chrome armor is insanely cool.
Strutting down that aisle.
Yeah, the gun is
Gwendolyn
awesome.
Christie, badass from Game of Thrones.
Yeah, Bree of Tarth is fucking amazing.
What the fuck is with the name Captain Phasma, though?
Yeah.
Like, that's a little too 1950s serial
like,
thing.
This week on Flash Gordon, Captain Phasma faces off against our hero.
On Planet Moon!
It does. It rings like it's out of like an old 30s, 40s, 50s sci-fi serial.
Yeah, I don't know. The name, maybe there's a reason why she has a shitty-ass name. Maybe it's to disarm people? Make them think of Captain Phasma.
Maybe she has a phasma, like a phantom, what am I saying, I guess a phasm gun or something, or a plasma gun, and she's just like, look, I named myself after my gun. What do you want?
Maybe she's a bounty hunter.
Maybe she's a bounty
hunter. To quote the Hound from the Game of Thrones,
because
only cunts name their swords.
Yeah.
But that one picture, though, you can see in the background sort of like a temple.
The one where it's Captain Phasma and there's some shit on fire.
Yeah, in the background you can see sort of like a temple. I'm thinking that used to be like an old Jedi temple.
Maybe,
sort of. And maybe that's where they have found Vader's helmet. Because at one point he was a Jedi.
Yeah, perhaps.
Right?
We also got another picture of Rey with her land speeder thing.
Yep.
And I think that may have been it as far as what was revealed in those photos. I don't remember anything else.
No. From the photos I've seen, that was that about covered it. I mean, we got to see more of the costumes.
Right.
Specifically the complete body wrap that Rey has, which is really neat.
It is. And I also think it's neat that you see a lot of the alien masks and costumes, like the physical stuff in that shot.
Practicals.
A lot,
yeah.
We're back to the alien costumes that we saw in the classic trilogy. Maybe even some puppets in there.
Far be it from me to be the one to say this, because I'm a very, very humble person.
Yeah.
I'm everybody knows me. I am a very humble man.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it pains me to have to say that when the prequel trilogy came out, I was one of the people who was saying, you know what these really need? practicals.
Yeah.
What was it about episode 1 that made it, say what you want about episode 1, but it looked beautiful? Why was that? Because they used practical and they used the CGI, and it was a blend. It wasn't a total fully immersive CGI
like in the podcast scene. You do see a lot of there's a mix. Some of the aliens are CG. Some of the aliens, they're clearly practical, and they're in a mask.
That's amazing. You go about, because that's what episode 1 did. You had practicals, and then you had, of course, characters
and then
Sepulveda,
and then you get to 2 and 3 where it's completely CGI and it feels very cold and fake.
It does. It's just so...
Even like Genosis, it feels very fake. Or as these images that we have of Jakku, even in the trailers where we see motion, it looks real.
You're there. When that pan, you see the Star Destroyer in the dunes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're there.
Reminds you of an old matte painting.
Even in the teaser trailer.
Mm-hmm.
The camera movements and everything seem so natural. It's something that Star Wars absolutely needed. Yeah,
like with Rey and Finn running from the TIE fighter, raining fire down on them.
I can't get over that shot.
I know, it's amazing.
We've never seen how truly destructive a TIE fighter was.
Yeah.
From the ground.
Yeah.
I mean...
And the fact that real shit's blowing up.
Yeah.
Now, going back to Captain Phasma, some people are speculating what her character might start to mean. Some people are wondering if she's going to be, like the Darth Maul type character, where she's going to be really badass, but she might end up, dying in the film.
Hunter, like she could be going our generation's Boba Fett.
Yes, and speaking of Boba Fett,
here we go.
Major spoilers.
Major third act spoiler.
Movie Pilot released a story. Now, to their credit, Movie Pilot has taken it down.
Now, let me just say this.
It went down really fast.
It went down really fast, which means that I think that lends
they were threatened
air of credibility.
Yeah, it seems like they were threatened by Disney.
Disney suits were on their ass.
Yeah, and Movie Pilot got it correct that Adam Driver was playing Kylo Ren, which wasn't a big stretch to imagine, but to give them credit, they, I believe, were the first ones to roll with that rumor. They have a story on the identity of Max von Sydow, who seems to have been forgotten.
Max von Sydow? I mean, I don't know.
Well, no, what I mean is, like, when the cast was announced, a lot of people were like, oh my god, Max von Sydow's in this movie. Like,
Sydow or Sydow?
I say Sydow. Whatever.
I'm going with Sydow.
I'm going to go with Sydow.
Oh.
We're probably both wrong, because he's, I think, he's Scandinavian. Anyway, like, the announcement was made that you have this, like, this famed actor in this movie. Yeah. And a lot of people were wondering, who is he playing? Is he the villain? And then this...
He really, like, my first thought when I first saw it...
Yeah, because he's Ming the Merciless.
Well, not only that, but his roles throughout the years, I mean... there was always a shadowy side. Even in The Exorcist, he was a good guy, but there was just something dark about that man.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he was in 3 Days of the Condor.
Yeah, and The Seventh Seal.
Yeah.
His most probably well-known film. Anyway, and then this rumor kind of started coming up that Sydow wasn't playing a bad guy. He was playing this old mercenary, possibly an old ally of Han Solo, possibly the original owner of the Falcon. Mm-hmm. But this week, the most insane rumor broke. And this comes off the heels as well of the confirmation that the second standalone Star Wars film is a Boba Fett origin film. Yeah. Which, I mean, no details are known about it other than we're getting the Boba Fett movie. The rumor is that in the third act of the film, Max von Sydow, or Sydow, is revealed to be none other than Boba Fett. Yeah. That he survived the Sarlacc pit. And the rumor notes that he has cybernetic modifications because of the digestive trauma. Now, interestingly, in a Reddit AMA, Star Wars historian J.W. Risner, I think is how you say his last name, confirmed that he was in a meeting with George Lucas and other suits, and Lucas mentioned that Boba Fett survived the Sarlacc.
This has been debated for a long time.
Right, because in the expanded universe, he survives. He uses a thermal detonator to kill the Sarlacc, and he escapes.
Yeah.
But that wasn't canon. But recently, Lucas confirmed, and it comes from the mouth of God. He's alive.
You talk about George Lucas and how he confirmed that. That's perfectly fine, all right? But think about what George Lucas changed when he released the what was it? The digital copies of it, right? He added CGI and stuff, and then he added the whole controversial thing. Han shot first, but then he made Greedo shot first.
Greedo did shoot first.
Well, he made him shoot first.
I'm trying to start a fight, by the way.
I've had this fight for way too long.
Well, right.
So, I mean, it's nothing
Greedo
new.
did shoot
The point I'm
first.
trying to get at is George Lucas tends... I don't hate George Lucas.
I don't.
I mean,
nor do I.
He made one of the greatest...
But I'm just saying, like, if
Quote
it...
Stephen Colbert, how dare George Lucas provide us with generations of entertainment.
Exactly.
And, you know, I'm letting the credibility factor here is that the creator himself said it. And to me, if the creator says it, it means he intended for Boba Fett to live.
Yeah.
Right.
And we know Lucas was working on the tree, and Lucas was trying to get 7 done before he sold.
Yes. And by the way, what I want to see more than anything
Where
are
Lucas's
his notes.
yeah, the only thing
I
that
wanna see his notes.
yeah, the only thing that I've seen come out was that Lucas wanted the new characters to be teenagers, young people, and Disney didn't like that because they thought it would remind people of Jake Lloyd and how young Natalie Portman was in The Phantom Menace. And that's why they still went young, but they went a little bit like 20s, these
20s,
characters look
safe
like.
age.
Which is probably for the best.
Yes.
So, yeah, very interesting rumor. It would be ground-shaking.
Teenagers suck.
Yeah, they do. And it's going to be... The
There's
reveal...
a lot of dystopian films out
Yeah.
there with teens. You can have those.
The
Star Wars is
reveal
gonna
of Boba Fett, if that happens, that might be bigger than Vader revealing that he's Luke's father.
I don't know about that, but
In recent years, certainly, this could be one of the greatest twists or reveals.
yeah, it'll be powerful, definitely.
You're going to have a fucking standing ovation if, they come to wherever Boba Fett's hiding, and they give you a few little hints that it might be Boba Fett. Like maybe there's a Wookiee braid on a table somewhere hanging up, and then you see coming out around the corner, you get a shot of the armor from the neck down, and then they reveal the mask. It will be a standing ovation.
Yeah.
That being said,
The only other character that we really
Andy
truly
Serkis.
know nothing about, Andy Serkis.
yeah. As far as major character, Donald Gleason, the kid who played one of the Weasley brothers, I don't think he's going to be a big character.
He'll be First Order, I think you were saying.
Yeah, he's rumored to play some kind of general. But
Yeah.
Andy Serkis, that's his voice in the first teaser. And
That is, and let me just preface this.
First
by
voice,
how-
yeah.
That is the first voice we heard from a new Star Wars film.
And there's been a
teaser.
ton of rumors over. Some are saying they're going to do the Gollum route with him, and he's going to play a completely CGI motion capture character. Some are saying no, he's going to be out of
I
CGI.
think he wants to be out of CGI.
Because in the Age of Ultron, he's not in CGI.
He looks really... Just his looks to him.
Yeah,
Looks really dark.
he looks like a scoundrel.
He looks like his voice.
Yeah.
And to be perfectly
But
blunt.
once again, we know about Kylo Ren, right?
Yeah,
But if there is an apprentice or there's a master,
presumably, yeah.
right? Another couple things that I wanted to talk about, like at the end of Return of the Jedi, right? We see Vader being burned and seen the Emperor being thrown down.
Yes,
all
and
right?
explode into energy.
But they always say about the Force is ever flowing. It just keeps going.
Yeah.
So I mean, we did see what Anakin Skywalker was at the end, right? So I'm wondering if we're going to see a little bit of the Emperor.
Well, if you go to his backstory, what little backstory we know about Palpatine, as was revealed in Revenge of the Sith, he was interested in learning about how to create immortality to become immortal. And for the first 2 trilogies, Palpatine was the big bad.
Yeah.
And it could very well be that perhaps the people, if you are right, and I didn't think about it, and it didn't make sense to me until you said perhaps Kylo Ren doesn't revere Vader.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps he hates Vader, and it's a reminder of the weakness of Vader.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the source of that could be maybe Kylo Ren and perhaps Andy Serkis. Maybe their role is to try to resurrect Palpatine, because as we know, in the expanded universe, that was a bit of a storyline.
Yes, in the Dark Empire graphic novel series, Palpatine comes back in the form of a clone.
And if anybody knows more...
Because the idea is Palpatine was powerful enough that he was able to control his, afterworldly force essence, and he was able to transport his being into a clone body.
And it wouldn't surprise me if they tried to work in Palpatine maybe being part of a holocron or something like that.
Yeah.
They want...
Because we really didn't get to see a lot of the Sith relics.
No. And it just seems to me like it would give a good opportunity if these people really wanted to resurrect the Sith. Who better than to resurrect the person who would know most about the dark side of the Force?
Right.
Would be very interesting. So, moving on, we're going to return to our trailer time. Do.
That's and don't come after us. That music, totally copyright free.
Yes, agreed. So what do you want to roll with first? Mad Max Fury Road?
Yeah, let's do
let's
Mad Max.
get the most bombastic, both literally and figuratively, trailer out of the way.
Yeah.
So, little backstory, and this is for Jeff's benefit, since he admitted pre-show he has not seen any of the original. So, first movie is Mad Max. Probably the first big Australian movie to break it internationally.
Mel Gibson's breakthrough
film. Very low budget, mostly a cop drama.
Yeah.
He's
post-apocalyptic cop
yeah,
drama.
but you don't really get to see a lot of the post-apocalyptic. It's hinted. It's very subtle, but there's a lot of signs there that the world seems kind of okay. Just really lawless.
Yeah.
Then comes the sequel, which is far more revered, The Road Warrior, which is very post-apocalyptic.
Extremely.
For any fan of the video game
A lot of our modern, you're probably going to go into this, but a lot of our modern conceptions or images of what
dystopian comes from that movie.
Comes from, I mean...
I think it's like the video game Borderlands owes so much to the aesthetic of Road Warrior.
Almost every post-apocalyptic video game, most of them owe a lot to the Road Warrior.
Yes.
In the aesthetics.
Yeah, very brutal. For the time, pretty violent.
Biker gangs.
A lot of leather and chrome. The bad guy, he's pretty much wearing like leather boy shorts.
Yeah.
A bandolier and a metallic goalie mask of sorts.
Yeah.
And they're all riding in cars and gangs. Everybody's filthy. And then there's Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, which has Tina Turner, and it gives us the idea of the Thunderdome as a way of anything goes. We don't need another hero. Good song, not so much a great movie, but it has its moments.
Yeah.
But Mad Max has been dead since '89 when that movie came out, late '80s.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if there has been any a comic book adaptation. Maybe, I don't know. But it's very, very cult. Yeah. Even the video game Fury, which came out a few years ago, owes a lot to these films. Mm-hmm. So we get word a year or two ago that there's going to be a Mad Max video game. And then we get word that there's going to be a new Mad Max film with Tom Hardy. And they're releasing this movie as a sequel to a cult film from the 80s that really isn't up there with a fan base like, how Star Wars lasted through the 90s.
Right.
And they released this trailer. And I don't think I've seen that many explosions in a trailer.
Jeff, like I said, It looks like Michael Bay directed this. I've seen Michael Bay films, okay, but this just—it's like over the top.
Yeah,
It definitely is over the top.
In the trailer, like
A lot of explosions, a
like,
giant.
what is
the
this?
rumor. I read somewhere that the bulk of the film is going to be a massive car chase. That it's going to be, from what I've read, this movie is pretty much nonstop action, explosions, car chases, shit blowing up. This is a very high testosterone, violent movie.
I saw you grimace, Jeff.
This isn't. From all indications, this is not a movie you're going to go to for. It's not a character study.
No.
it seems like any other typical summer movie flick, though. I mean, you two might be fans of it. Okay. I mean, it has its own thing going on.
I like Mad Max and the Road Warrior. I wouldn't call myself like a cult fan, but I'll say this. As soon as I was done watching that trailer, I'm like, fuck you, take my money. Give it to me now. I was really excited by it. I love Tom Hardy. I love Charlize.
I think there are going to be some character moments, especially because I don't think Charlize Theron would take a role.
Right.
If it was like some.
Well, I'm not saying there's going to be no time for character. What I mean is, the people who go and watch movies like The King's Speech may not enjoy this movie.
No,
I like The King's Speech, but if you're really into stuff like that, and that's you might not like
your bag, but I mean.
Yeah. It is what it is.
I like that
it's not. It doesn't seem like it's pretending to be something that it's not.
It's more Road Warrior than.
Yeah, definitely.
The original was. I hate to say it. The original was.
It's boring in parts. It's good for what it was, but admittedly, it's very slow in parts. Whereas the Road Warrior, that's pretty good.
I mean, the best moments of the Road Warrior were some of the over-the-top moments.
Yeah,
and
like the guy chained to the hood of the car.
Yeah, and Jeff, go ahead.
With this movie, okay, I'm trying to look at this objectively as possible. Okay, because I think with this movie they have to. I'm looking from the outside in.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so they really have to kind of draw an audience in that's from this newer generation. Okay, of people, my generation.
Your generation.
Yeah, they have to have
the younger millennials.
Yeah, but they have to have your audience retention for you guys too. They have to keep that nostalgic feel.
So if this movie really is like the bulk of it's like, let's say, a 50-minute car chase sequence where they're riding through the desert and shit's just blowing up left and right.
From a storytelling perspective, I see what Jeff is doing.
Right.
The rules of storytelling is, if you're going to do an action shot, you follow an action scene or sequence.
Yeah.
You follow the slower sequence because
Exactly.
if it can get a little too much. It can
It
lose
can,
its-
but maybe they can pull it off.
Although I do think, there are some moments in Gravity where it slows down a little bit.
Yeah.
But there are a good portion of Gravity is
There's a lot where
she's trying to survive.
right.
So
It's all about watching her survival, and it works in a movie like that.
It can be done. Children of Men, one
Yeah.
of my favorite films of all time. There's the whole almost third act is them trying to get out of that
city.
That
The base, and then
basically ghetto that they
Yeah.
have for the refugees
Mm-hmm.
or non-citizens. It can be done.
Right, and a bad example of that is the Battle of the Five Armies.
Yeah.
But I think where the Battle of the Five Armies fails is because it's the third film in a very long story. It's not.
That failed. Oh my god!
You know what?
Are we going to go there? Because I'll tell you right now that there were a lot of failures with that.
But you know what? But you know what I mean. That movie just felt like it didn't need to exist.
No.
Whereas I think if they can,
they spaced it out.
yeah. But I'm excited for Mad Max. I'm planning on seeing it in theaters.
Will I see it? Yes, absolutely. Because
Yeah.
I remember it from my childhood. I
Yeah.
actually had Mad Max the video game for the original Nintendo
Yeah.
system. pretty badass.
And I think it's gonna be the cult film of the summer. I don't think it's gonna be.
Yeah, I don't know if it's gonna be.
I don't think it's gonna be a box office smash, but who knows? I don't think it's gonna
break 100.
I don't think it's gonna bomb though.
No,
because you got to figure Australia probably is gonna push a lot of it.
Oh, the Aussies!
Yeah.
Holy shit, they'll come out of the outback for that.
Now, moving on to anybody else have anything on Mad Max you want to throw in before we move on to our next trailer?
Yeah, our next trailer is the Batman vs Superman.
A movie that's
Dawn of Justice.
A movie that is guaranteed to make a fuck ton of money, whether it's good or not.
Yeah, I don't know.
Released on the heels of the Star Wars trailer.
Yeah.
I think released the next day.
Yeah, which I think we had a bit of a consensus where that might have been a mistake.
Yes, because at first a Portuguese version of the film trailer that somebody shot on a Steadicam leaked, and then Warner Brothers I think was just like, fuck it, let's release the good quality version that's not filmed on somebody's fucking phone. I was not impressed.
I thought it was a mixed bag, to be perfectly honest.
There are some cool moments.
Again, I love the story of, Superman the savior, Superman the false god.
I like that dichotomy, and I like that that seems to be the main point of contention in that film.
Yeah, and you know what? I hate to be a bit of a lit student here, but I think that comes in perfectly with the times we're living in.
Yeah.
With the constant centralization of power, the suspicion of the government spot. I mean, if you really think about it, the government's PRISM program, or the massive wide data collection of that is Superman.
Right.
If you really think about it.
If you remember, in the last Nolan film, Batman had his cell phone tracking technology. Yeah. Not saying they're going to go with it, but we've seen these political issues touched upon in DC films.
Yeah, and that is when DC is at its best. When it tries to... Because, look, few of what Marvel does...
Marvel doesn't really get political in these movies.
Yeah, and the closest Marvel's ever gotten to being political was, I think, the original Iron Man. With some of the...
And to an extent, the X-Men films do touch upon the bigotry against gays and lesbians. And coming out as a...
I didn't want to call it a Marvel film simply because...
Those were before...
Fox.
Oh, fair. Yeah, but they're still Marvel.
It's Marvel property, but not Marvel Studios.
Fair enough, but...
the Marvel Studio... Let me be very specific.
Okay, Marvel Studio
films have very much skewed from politics and current events.
The only exception we might get with the Captain America 3 Civil War.
Yeah.
Because that's a very political story.
They did say they wanted to be a darker. The director came out and actually said it wanted to be darker. So I do like that.
Yeah.
I do like that they are going in that direction. I do like that you have the voice of Lex Luthor as played by Jesse Eisenberg saying...
I'm not crazy about Jesse as...
I like the voice.
Yeah.
I liked what he had to say there.
Yeah.
We didn't see him, but I liked what he had to say, which is that great line that the devils that I know come from the sky. Not the
great
ground.
line. Yeah.
Great line. Jeff, did you... Because we're now going to probably go into what we didn't like about it.
Yeah.
And what did you like?
What did you think overall of the trailer? We have not... Because we've just been blabbing here. You're the young guy. You're 18. You're from the young millennials.
Okay. What did the young buck like?
What did the young buck like to write? Yeah.
It looks great. It truly does. But the one thing it seems what they're doing more and more is making these movies a lot darker.
Are you talking in terms of theme or in terms of lighting? Because you got both.
Theme and that.
Yeah, very small lighting budget.
Well, no. It seems like in the first couple of scenes in that trailer.
Yeah. Very heavy.
Yeah, it seems like someone didn't pay the lighting bill.
Yeah, it definitely, yeah.
You know what I mean? And, if that's someone else's taste, that's perfectly fine.
Zack Snyder does have a very dimly lit aesthetic.
I have no problem with it.
Right.
It's just... It might not appeal to, per se, people that like the happy or...
Right.
You know what I mean? But the one thing that I don't understand about this Batman versus Superman: The Dawn of Justice.
Mm-hmm.
Think of the name, Batman versus Superman. Is it going to be actually them versing each other, or is it going to be who like
a battle of are you thinking like instead of like being
who's the better superhero?
Like a thematic battle,
like even the false god thing.
I can only go from what
the
I've
Dark
seen
Knight.
in the trailer,
Yeah.
and the trailer is we do see Batman ready to fight Superman.
Yeah, and
I
his-
think it's because the impression that Batman has is that
Superman's gone out of his.
he's gone.
He's
he has-
lawless. Nope.
Basically, there's too much power
Right.
concentrated there.
And not
Right.
to mention in the Dark Knight Rises graphic novel, Batman does fight Superman.
Yeah. So the question then becomes,
Or the Dark Knight Returns,
what do
rather.
we
Sorry,
think about now? Everybody,
had an opinion on
Batman.
on Batfleck.
Batfleck.
I had hope for the shot where they show him as Bruce Wayne. It looks like Ben is going to do a good Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
I liked from where you see him in that almost robotic kind of costume, which I'm hoping he's only wearing because he's fighting Superman.
It has to be. It has to be. It has to be. It has to be.
Which makes
Because
sense.
I was curious about
Yeah.
how can he be fighting the Man of Steel?
Right. I'm assuming I'm assuming it's for practicality.
It has to be.
I really like, this might sound silly to some, I like Ben's chin.
I missed it.
Batman, well, a lot of the focus with Batman is on the chin.
I know that that's like an important touchstone, but
It's a small little
I
detail.
liked it, but I didn't like the voice. And I don't know if that's because he's in the suit.
It has to be. It has to be because there's no way a human being can sound like that without electronic modification.
Right. But as you can see, his mouth is exposed in that costume.
Yeah.
So, which leads me to one or two theories. One, it is a direct result of that costume.
Yeah.
Or two, the way that this Batman is going to disguise his voice, instead of going the Christian Bale gruff, I'm Batman kind of voice. And I don't even think Michael Keaton had a strong. Correct me if I'm wrong.
You're wrong.
Did he have a Batman voice? I don't remember.
He had a voice.
Yeah.
But it was a perfect voice.
Right, and in the animated series, Kevin Conroy had a very strong, stern Batman voice, but a softer Wayne.
Yes.
But it wasn't out of the realm of possibility that they could be the same person. I'm wondering if in this movie, to get over the suspension of disbelief, Zack Snyder is going to have this Batman have some kind of fucking machine alter his voice.
Yeah. Well, it has to be because that's just.
Right, and I as far as suspension, how do you not realize Clark Kent is Superman? That's the biggest.
I mean, again, that's where the suspension of disbelief comes in. But at the same time, perhaps that's why Superman hasn't been a popular character.
Yeah, because it's not.
People can't buy it anymore.
Right, even like a lot of these superheroes wear a mask. Or you could do something like you do with Robert Downey's Iron Man, where he's just like fuck it, I'm Iron Man. Yeah. But that goes with his personality.
Yeah.
Whereas Matt Murdock, he needs to be in the Daredevil costume.
Yeah.
Thor's from another planet, so who gives a shit? He doesn't have a secret identity.
No. So, yeah, I mean, look, watching the trailer again.
Mm-hmm.
I am gonna go see it.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna see it.
I do have reservations about it. But,
Yeah.
Our next trailer, ladies.
Jeff, yeah.
In the background of one of those shots in that trailer, anybody's ever checked the far left back? You can see question marks. I wonder if that's the Riddler.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
And the shot after that looks like Arkham Asylum.
I did not know.
It looks. If you watch it again, it's right in the background, like on the big pillars.
Which could tie into the Suicide Squad. And there's a rumor that the Joker is going to be seen in flashback in this movie. The rumor is Jared Leto's Joker will be shown in flashback killing Jason Todd, who, for those unfamiliar, was Robin.
So, all right.
The unpopular Robin.
That was a very good point,
Yeah.
and now I'm even more interested in
Yeah, I'll have to watch it again.
Our next film trailer that we're going to be talking about is clearly from the disaster genre. It's probably going to be a comedy disaster film.
Yes.
It's called Pixels.
Yes, a big budget.
A big budget.
Adam
Sandler. Who's the fat guy?
Kevin James.
Kevin James vehicle that has captured the world by storm.
Yeah, a really popular trailer.
One of the most viewed I believe it's
Pixels?
Yes.
Yeah.
Isn't it one of the
top
viewed
trailers for the year? Yeah, I think only Star Wars has it beat.
Yeah.
And a lot of people watched it really, really quickly. And Peter Dinklage is in this movie for some reason, with a mullet.
Yes.
So the premise of the movie is, for some reason, Kevin James has been elected president. I guess
It's a bad year.
Yeah, a bad year in
candidates.
politics. You know,
What year does this
you know,
take
people were bitching that Obama was just a community organizer. You know, how did people justify voting for Paul Blart Mall Cop? He's tough on crime. So he's president. And for some reason, aliens send video game characters to invade Earth.
Yeah. Because
Classic video game characters. Pac-Man, Space Invaders, Donkey Kong.
We sent out a big shuttle in 1982 and went out into space. And
the 80s were crazy.
We put cultural artifacts in there, and some of them were Donkey Kong, Pac-Man, and I think asteroids?
Maybe Space Invaders. That was a big one. Could you imagine if they sent out tapes of the Golden Girls and Attack of the giant Arthur? Yeah.
Oh my god! Now I would go see that one.
And she has the nuclear energy blast that Godzilla has. She just opens her mouth. And Adam Sandler.
And Blanche has sex with the.
She just fucked
Empire.
Stephen. And Rose goes to the wrong planet because she's dumb.
Rose is on Jupiter. At the eye.
Yeah. Where is everybody? Oh, back in, what was her town?
St. Olaf.
St. Olaf. Yeah, so Adam Sandler plays this, like,
What the fuck does Adam Sandler play?
for what his character was, the King of Kong, this professional video game player.
Right, okay, yeah.
And he's recruited to fight them along with Pac-Man's creator, and I think Peter Dinklage was also a big video game jockey. And these are your heroes. I mean, the movie's going to make a fuck ton of money because it's Adam Sandler and Kevin James.
I just want to say this. I really wish I could have been in the pitch meeting for this film. Like, how much fucking acid did they have to take to greenlight this picture? I mean, really? I mean, can you imagine that? Now imagine this. 1980s video game characters blow shit up.
Fucking sold.
After the fourth hit of PCP.
My question is, can we get that Kevin James in this movie?
What the fuck are you doing?
That was my movie mogul impression.
It was your what?
My Southern movie mogul.
What? I thought you were having a stroke.
You gotta have the Kevin James in this movie.
Please don't quit your day job.
Now, right, we gotta have Kevin James in this film, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna make him fat, and we're gonna have Adam Sandler. He's gonna go around, he's gonna yell, he's gonna scream, and Paul Blart's gonna save the day. That's a movie. I mean, I don't know.
It's Futurama did an episode with this concept.
This is a Futurama. How can you take
But people are excited for this.
Who?
Adam Sandler fans and
Probably him.
these people still stoned from 1985.
I really want to see how this does. Is it going to sell because it's just Adam Sandler? I thought Adam Sandler's latest movies didn't do well.
No, but he hasn't been doing well at the box office over the past year.
Did
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe not good because we're not hearing about it. But, I don't like disaster movies to begin with, so I'm not excited to see this anyway.
A disaster film?
Yes.
Yeah.
And here's what I can't understand about Tony's hatred of disaster films. He sent me a text the other day saying that he didn't like disaster films. Now, I do. Now, are all disaster films great? No, there's been quite a few disaster films. You know, Volcano or something like that.
Yeah.
That wasn't that great. So, all right. Now, disaster is not post-apocalyptic because disaster is technically the disaster that causes the post-apocalypse. So that's what these movies tend to feature on. Some big natural disaster, alien invasion happens, ends the world.
Yeah,
So
a lot of shit blows up.
Yeah, so, okay.
Or it's like a vehicle disaster, like
Titanic.
Like Titanic.
Yes, okay, so my thought was, okay, well, does that mean Tony didn't like Independence Day? And I was like, well, what about Independence Day? That tends to be considered one of the greatest disaster films of all time. And
Never saw it.
Never fucking saw it.
Yeah, never saw it. I've seen bits and pieces.
Well into his...
I've seen the... I've seen the scene.
Well into your
Perhaps the
20s.
only scene I've seen of that movie is the one where Will Smith is piloting the alien ship and he crash lands in the desert.
How did that never come up?
That movie was released in, 96?
Yeah.
I was 7 years old. I think I don't know. I just wasn't...
I think they play it 3 times a day on TNT.
They probably do. For whatever reason, I just never saw it. I wasn't a big fan of Will Smith growing up. I wasn't into the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Jeff Goldblum, Bill Pullman,
Your buddy, Randy Quaid.
Randy Quaid, Vivica A. Fox. How could you not like this cast?
I don't know. I don't like Bill Pullman all that much.
So you're not even aware that in Independence Day...
I know he has that really cheesy speech.
Cheesy speech? That's one of the greatest speeches given by a fictional president.
Well, I'll tell you what. I will watch this movie, and we'll discuss it on a future episode.
Yeah, because you're a fucking asshole. I don't understand how you could not have seen this movie.
Yeah, even I've seen it.
Yeah, the 19-year-old.
What?
Even I've seen it.
Really? 19? Even Jake the 18-year-old saw the movie.
Yeah, I don't know.
And Jeff the 19-year-old.
Both and Jake.
Jeff and Jake.
saw. I don't know. I just never saw it.
That's really dumb.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie to you. That is really dumb.
But I don't know. I mean,
Well, all
the
right.
one thing I don't know. Like
Titanic.
yeah.
You've seen it, right?
Yeah.
It's a disaster. It's considered. You would have to consider it the greatest disaster film of all time because of how many Academy Awards it won.
Right.
What do you think of that?
It's an okay movie.
It's an okay movie.
Avatar.
Avatar's not
a
I
disaster.
mean, they go in and they try and destroy everything.
No,
Nah.
that's sci-fi. That's sci-fi. A disaster film is...
You need a big catastrophe that kind of like the whole movie is centered around. Like for example, like the end of the world,
Yeah.
or
The Day After Tomorrow.
a giant a bizarrely gigantic earthquake.
War of the Worlds is a sci-fi disaster.
Yeah,
Day the Earth Stood Still.
I wouldn't
disaster.
consider the original.
Huh?
The original is more of a
Just alien visitation.
yeah.
Because the new one.
the
that
new
I saw
the
is
new yeah.
disaster.
Have you seen the original one?
Actually, The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, in the original one, it's like one of those philosophical, hard sci-fi movies.
Okay.
It's more essentially it's like how Star Trek would have those philosophical episodes where it's more or less a thematic debate. Mm-hmm. That's kind of how the first one is.
Twister. Have you seen Twister?
Yes, not crazy about Twister.
One of the greats from the 90s.
Miles loved it a lot.
90s natural disaster film.
Yeah, I don't really care about him.
You don't care about what?
I don't know. It just the fucking giant tornado. It's just not interesting to me.
All right, fair enough. I mean, the disaster genre it's there. You know.
Yeah.
They have some good ones.
This is going to be a disaster there for our view. Oh shit! There was a bird trying to get into the room where we're recording. There's these big, tall, maybe 9-10 foot tall glass windows, and this bird was trying to get in, fluttering, thinking it could get in. It landed on the ledge and was staring inside, and then it turned around and just dropped like it committed suicide. So
I'm
It was a
hoping.
disaster film outside.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
I don't know what's worse, that or your mom thinking that the Mad Max film was the Benghazi movie.
that's the funniest thing I've ever heard. If we have time, I think Jeff had brought up something earlier that kind of touches upon the trailers that we saw, because none of these are original concepts.
No.
Right.
Do we want to roll into this quick?
Yeah, we can end our show with this.
We'll end the show with this.
Is anything original?
That we talked about today.
No.
Pixels, sort of, except for
but
the fact that it uses...
an existing medium
Yeah.
as like the villain in that. Mad Max is a sequel.
Dawn of Justice.
Dawn of Justice is based on existing comic book property. Star Wars is based. Okay, so are we talking aside from? Okay,
Like actual original content that we've never even heard before. Not like a remake, because everything seems like, think about it. Alvin the Chipmunks.
are you
Star Wars
excluding films based off of a book that have not been made yet?
We can include those if you
I mean,
want.
one of the biggest movies last year was Gone Girl.
I mean,
Granted, it is based off of a book.
Harry Potter
Yeah, but
felt
most-
original.
A lot of that's fine. That most great films, like
Right.
original, come from some book material.
Right, but a lot of great films are also remakes
Yeah. No.
that you don't realize they're reimaginings.
When we're talking about originality, let's set our
Yeah, let's
definition.
get this definite. Yeah.
I consider material based on a novel to be original because it has not been a film yet.
Yeah.
Whenever we talk about the originality of films, what I think of being as, quote, non-original would be sequels. Things
Yeah.
that have already been a
Right.
movie.
Right, sequel or a remake of a film.
Yeah.
Or a reimagining.
Right. I consider things that are from a book to be original because...
Right. The book hasn't been, as long as the book hasn't been filmed yet.
Correct.
And you don't really see literary remakes. So unless you're retelling a like a fairy
Pride and
tale,
Prejudice and Zombies.
right? Or you're retelling a fairy tale. It is with the bigger movies are all based off of comic books.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that Daredevil did interestingly, the TV show, that's an original story.
Yeah.
They're using the characters and they're using plot points, but that's a story that has not been told in a Daredevil comic.
Right. And that's a very nuanced argument.
Yes,
And
whereas...
we really have to stretch for this.
Right, but as opposed to
We all know why this is, right? Do we know why the fact that there aren't going to be a slew of avatars out there? Original films. Do we know this? We know why?
I have my personal opinion, but you go ahead.
Just think about.
Do you have an idea, Jeff?
No, sort of.
What's your idea?
Why don't we have original films?
Yeah.
Then? Well, it's not that there isn't original ideas. There is.
Yeah, they're clearly
Right.
the minority. You're
Correct.
correct about that assertion.
It's just that we don't hear about them as much, or they do very well.
Well, they're just not being. There's
Right.
not enough of them being made, like you said.
I mean, a lot of people.
But why?
It's-
The question is why.
My opinion is that it's I'm talking about a movie right now. I'm prefacing. It's about why women see original movies. It's hard to sell people new ideas.
Exactly.
Well,
People do like the familiar and
Nostalgic. People like
the
nostalgia.
comfortable, and especially when you're seeing a lot of these big movies based off of big existing universes. It's hard sometimes to sell people, to get them sold on a new concept.
That is half. That is the absolute 50% of why. The other 50% is it costs a lot of money to make a film.
It's a risk.
Yeah.
It's a huge risk.
Yeah.
It is a huge risk with how much money it costs to make a movie today because if your movie is a big budget concept, it has to make a ton of money.
Look
to
what
recoup
happened
its
with
costs.
John Carter, based off
That
of
wasn't even an original thing.
exactly
Right.
and look what happened there.
Yeah. I mean, that, it is really, but again, what bothers me about that was studios don't realize that certain things, like concepts, have a shelf life.
Yeah.
I mean, you cannot get an audience today to go see a John Carter film because most people were not aware of John Carter.
Right.
They don't know that Edgar Rice Burroughs wrote this almost at the early turn of the century.
Yeah.
I mean, it has...
And that
really,
it was a book hugely influential
correct. And it was a huge influence.
on a lot of sci-fi.
But it has not been in the cultural consciousness for 50 years?
It's like you can't...
50 years?
You couldn't pull off Flash Gordon today. Because the only link you have to Flash Gordon with most people is the campy 1980s film.
You would have a better shot with Flash Gordon than you would with John Carter.
Well, yeah, but I'm still saying...
It's still a tough sell.
It's a tough sell, especially because...
Maybe not a film, but maybe something like a...
Maybe like a Battlestar Galactica reimagining.
Sci-fi or Netflix, maybe, if they're
interested. Yeah, but that's why...
But it have to be a reimagining.
Right, and look at original content. A lot of original content you're seeing on television these days. Mad Men, Breaking Bad, House of Cards is a remake, but they do it really differently than the British version, I'd argue.
But that's because, you're allowed... movies, you have to make all that money.
Exactly, there's a lot there.
TV, they give you a certain amount of time to grow.
Mm-hmm.
And with films, it's a couple of weeks. You have a couple of weeks in a theater, and you to recoup your costs. It's crazy, like the amount of
and then you sometimes have the misfortune of being released at the wrong time.
Yeah.
A lot of movies are backing out of December because of Star Wars.
And also,
they don't want to compete against it.
They're gonna fail
because they know everybody's going to see Star Wars.
I mean, maybe they'll put like a romantic comedy by Tina Fey or something like that.
Yeah.
But that's it. That's the only film that could.
Yeah.
It's not going to do like Star Wars, but still. But the problem is that and the other issue, of course, I don't consider this part of the 100% reason why, but it is a factor. Like I mentioned earlier, there is a brain drain going on currently within the film industry because writers do not get bupkis in that industry. They don't. It's a director's medium. It's a producer's medium. And they get all the accolades. They get all the money. And, why bother if you're a writer? Go to TV. TV is where it's your medium. You're given more rights over your creation. And quite frankly, more water cooler conversations today have to do with TV than they do film. Well, TV has replaced film as
it's easier to digest. Because now, this isn't like 10 years ago where, The Sopranos ends and it's like, fuck, we got to wait over a year for this.
Right.
And, oh, fuck, we got to wait week to week like this. A lot of shows, like Game of Thrones, when the shows are airing now, you can watch them. But if you're new to Game of Thrones, you could watch the past 4 seasons in a weekend. Yeah. You can watch House... it's a bit... Okay, there's a lot of... They're a long episode. But you know what I'm saying.
Sad life if you could pull that one off.
Yeah, well, you can watch a lot of these shows really, really quickly.
Yeah.
Like, if you're on work on Monday and your buddy's like, hey, did you watch Daredevil yet? And you're like, no. And they're like, oh, we got to check it out. By the end of the week, you could watch all 13 episodes.
And be part of the conversation.
It's not like years ago where, you miss, half the episodes of the first season of The Sopranos and you got to wait.
Yeah. That's it. You're lucky if they re-air it.
Right. And, it's like a year or two before it's on DVD. And it's expensive.
Yeah.
Can't get it on demand. Can't pay $1, $2 an episode. Yeah. It's tough out there.
Tough break. Yeah. Especially for cheapskates like you.
Well.
Cord cutter.
I pay for stuff. Well, I think that just about wraps this episode up.
It does.
I'm Tony Thomas.
I'm Dave Masacura.
I'm Jeff Hughes.
Thank you for joining us on Burnt Popcorn.